Wouldn't it be more constructive if you obsessed about success?
If I do not obsess about the failure, then I do not think I will be able to figure out what to do after failing.
There's so many who just celebrate failures, right?
Why does the world have to make the same failure again and again? So if I've learned from a failure, can I democratize that knowledge so that others don't make the same failure?
What are your top 3 favorite failures that you've made yourself?
I think 65% startups fail because of co-founder misalignment. I've always remembered was with Mr. Jeff Bezos. So I had asked him, are there any management thinkers that he really admires?
Yeah.
He said Walt Disney.
Right. Is it a second act for you personally? Is it a second act for your journey so far as an entrepreneur?
Second act is actually finding frameworks that will help you succeed better. I hope that we will be able to create a lot of this immortal learning which for generations will be useful.
Coffee bani phir.
You
No?
want to have coffee right away?
Yes, yes.
Do you want
Huh?
some milk? I have some milk in your coffee.
Yeah, please. I have milk but no sugar.
No sugar?
No, I was going to taste it, but I don't think I will because it's too warm.
It won't be.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've always been wondering that.
You wonder?
Yeah, I often do.
Oh, wow. That's a
And
wonder.
That's why I'm starting something around wondering and
I
trying
think
to
you're
figure
starting
it.
something because you needed to launch yourself.
Probably yes to that
Yes.
as well. I think social media and projection has changed so many things that perhaps it's also time to revisit what actual projection should be.
Right.
I think there is always this alternate theory of how you project yourself and out of that projection what you achieve. Maybe.
It's an old habit that I have. To
Yeah.
always carry a copy
Yeah.
and a pen. You
I
carry
have-
papers.
Yes, papers are nice.
Wonderful.
Just that
I was noticing
stopped
something.
writing.
There are 3 of us making our debuts today. Me as a podcaster. This is my
me
first.
as a podcaster as well.
You, as the next rising star in the world of
Amitabh
podcasts.
Bachchan of podcast.
And who's the third person making a debut?
The
Your
podcast
show!
itself.
The second act.
Thank you
Yes.
for being here.
So tell us a little bit more about the second act. Why the name? The second act?
Why the name? Because I think that every time a person makes a mistake, fails, tries to resurrect himself or herself, it is always a second act. And we play so many second acts in our lives, not just as a professional, but as an individual also, whether it's family, school, college, profession. So I think second act is something that keeps on happening in our lives, and there are so many ways to decode that over years of your life. So yeah, that's why second
It's
act.
interesting that you called it the second act. Is it a second act for you personally? Is it a second act for your journey so far as an entrepreneur?
So in my entrepreneurship journey, definitely yes. In my life, no. But second act is actually finding frameworks that will help you success better, and
Succeed better, you mean?
Succeed better, yes. So in that process of finding success, you also learn from those failures. You try to create your own frameworks, playbooks, toolkits, and we are trying to figure those things out, and so that the next time you try to do something, you do not make the same mistakes, repeat the same mistakes.
You know, Sunny, wise men have always said that if you don't fail, you don't create anything. So why are you trying to snuff out failures? I mean, there's so many who just celebrate failures, right?
Why does the world have to make the same failure again and again? So if I've learned from a failure, can I democratize that knowledge so that others don't make the same failure? So can we reduce the number of failures in the ecosystem? And let me try to go back a little. Finding frameworks of success is something that has always interested me. It is not right now. So in 2014, I had written a book called Mantras for Success. Essentially, it featured 21 leading CEOs, including Sunil Bharti Mittal, Anand Mahindra, late Mr. Ratan Tata, and every story about these men were about trying to find out how they succeeded, why they succeed, so on and so forth. Later on in 2020, I wrote another book. In that book, it was a biography of Sandeep Agarwal, who had built a unicorn because of federal case. He lost his reputation, he lost his company, but that person again started something called Room, and Shopclues was a unicorn, Room again became a unicorn. But that book was not about the success, it was about how you navigate through those failures in life to come back even stronger than before. In my own entrepreneurial journey, I would have made at least 20 mistakes, and most of them would have killed a startup. I went to the community, the startup community, to my founder friends, and tried to figure out the framework around that. In that process, I realized there is no single structured place where I can find frameworks of, if I've committed a mistake, if I'm failing at something, how do I navigate through that chaos?
So are you trying to say that the series of podcasts that you will do, the crux of it would be to analyze failures so that perhaps positive learnings can come out of it?
So there is a difference between just a learning and trying to find a playbook.
Right.
So when you try to find a playbook, you are actually decoding the failure, and every single action an entrepreneur, a CEO, a founder takes to come out of that chaos, the challenge, the mistake, the failure that person has committed. Most companies, especially in the startup ecosystem, 90% of them fail because they are unable to navigate that chaos. So the second act tries to figure out those challenges through deep conversations and try to create that framework that will help other founders navigate better. And in that process, can they succeed better? Perhaps yes.
Perhaps. Okay. We've spoken for I think about 5 minutes, as I can see on your watch, and I have not counted, but I'm sure if I did, the word failure has featured almost 65%.
I have an obsession with that, I guess now. By now I've started obsessing about that word.
About failures?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be more constructive if you obsessed about success, about learnings, about lessons?
If I do not obsess about the failure, then I do not think I will be able to figure out what to do after failing. So most people do not realize that they are failing.
Right.
And since they do not realize, they are unable to figure out the path after that. So first you have to accept that there has been a mistake. They have failed at something. Once you have accepted it, then it becomes far more easier to have a conversation with himself or herself or with others to say that, you know, I am stuck here, I failed here, help me how to navigate that.
Why a podcast? Because the way you're talking, clearly you want to help the community, you want to help first-time founders. Then why not coaching? Why not a platform when you have direct conversations?
It originally didn't started with a podcast. The original idea was to create an agentic AI platform.
Right.
And perhaps that was a product bias. So having lived a tech entrepreneur's life for the past 6 years, I think it became a very obvious thing to go after. Also because the entire world was talking about agentic AI, and if you look at the funding that has been happening in that space.
Are you talking about that, the plugin that you sent me?
Yeah, it was somewhere that, but the plugin was step one,
Right.
the mistakes GPT that you.
Yes.
But it was a little more than that. So what we were thinking of building was essentially a agentic AI platform where founders, CXOs, product people, CMOs in startups, entrepreneurial organizations, they key in or they chat with that interface and talk about their problems, and on the fly it would create a masterclass or a course, and so that they are able to navigate through that problem that they are facing. But while doing that, I realized that what would the world miss if we stuck to that? The world would miss learnings from people who have been there, done that. So that's when I started thinking about my 14 years of journalism career.
I'll come back to that. Wait. So that's why you thought podcast, because this is a platform where you could interview the ones who've really made it big and analyze the failures and perhaps create frameworks on how to navigate it, avoid it, overcome it. Right.
That's step-by-step action plan.
Right. Again, I come back to the same question. Wouldn't one-to-one interactions be perhaps a better way of helping founders in India?
Let's take a very simple example. Every year, so many startups come into being. How many of them would have an access to, say, Vijay Shekhar Sharma, Ritesh Agarwal, Sandeep Agarwal, so on and so forth? Many of them would never have that access.
But you could open an accelerator or some sort of platform where you get him and get 100.
It's not scalable, right? So building products have taught me that scale comes when you make it irrespective of human interactions.
Right.
So if
so
I can
create... the power of YouTube, this will reach a far higher audience.
Distribution is already there. Right. If I can take those conversations, have the right conversation, bring out those challenges, bring out those frameworks, so many more people can learn. So you can easily say that millions of people, founders, aspiring founders, professionals in entrepreneurial companies.
You were talking about your 14 years of journalism. Let me go back to that. Is it some way of coming back to that? Is it the second act is also the homecoming, where you're dabbling with content once again?
From conversations, perhaps yes. Content, it's a very different kind of content. So one thing that I'm very conscious of is not to create a journalistic outfit out of these conversations. It is very specific to a product mindset or building a company mindset, which is very different from a journalistic approach towards content. So we are trying to see that if we can identify as less as 2 or 3 challenges that an entrepreneur has faced, and can they really deep dive into decoding the challenges and figure out a framework that can be that can be given to the world outside.
But I understand why the idea of podcast, it's wider reach. It's also perhaps using your talent that you used optimally in your 14 years as a journalist. But if I look at your multi-hyphenated career, journalist, then entrepreneur, you built a SaaS platform, now podcast. So how do you see this progression?
So, journalism taught me storytelling. It taught me, perhaps it made me a better interviewer. It also helped me understand what we all talk about is topicality. The only thing that I'm removing from this is topicality, because I want to create evergreen content, content which helps the next generation of entrepreneurs succeed better. Entrepreneurship taught me to break things into molecular parts, analyze it, create funnels, move forward, focus on things that really matter, remove distractions, stay away from noise, hyper focus on solving a particular problem. Writing books taught me that anything which has depth, there is a lot more to take away from that. So you bring all of this together, and second axis perhaps a mix of all these three things.
Is there any such thing as favorite failures?
Favorite failures?
No, that was a yes or no question. Is there?
Of course,
okay.
of course.
So then, what are your top 3 favorite failures? This has to be a personal answer of your almost 6 years now as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 favorite failures that you've made yourself?
My first, I think 65% companies, startups fail because of co-founder misalignment.
Right.
Co-founders exit because there is a lot of them have, and in most cases I think it's ego clashes, and there is an exit, and startups have dead equity, because of which nobody wants to invest in that startup again.
Right.
And as a byproduct of that situation, when investment doesn't happen in startups, they are unable to scale and eventually they die.
That's a very personal failure of yours, a personal problem that you faced.
Yeah.
Now, as a journalist,
I could not navigate it.
Hence, you will perhaps help with a checkbox. Can there be a checkbox to choose your founder, optimally choose your founder?
Yes, there is.
Can be?
Yes, there is a checkbox. You can actually draw it into an Excel sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So this is something you learned while you were failing?
This is something I learned after I failed, and for many months, perhaps a couple of years, I stayed in denial.
Right. I'll take you back to a conversation you and I had way back in 2019. I was writing on, I think there was an article that I was working on, and I asked you this question as to what is the most important ingredient of making a successful startup. And you had said founder fit, right?
Co-founder fitment.
Co-founder fitment, thanks. It means, this is 2019 when you had not started up. It means that you had delved into the topic even as a journalist, but you're saying
superficial.
Go ahead.
So,
explain.
At that time, it seemed relationships to be the best fitment, and that is why perhaps I started with one of my best friends. But it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than just one human being friends with another human being, or they have spent a lot of time together, and that at that point of time the excitement, the exuberance is much higher, and when you are in deep shit, everything starts breaking apart.
Right. So basically,
Right.
if you're friends with a person, stay friends.
Stay friends, don't start up together.
Don't start up together.
That is why I think that we should not start up together.
Well, I don't have a business idea, and if you do, you're most welcome to do it yourself.
Tell me a business idea. Perhaps I would tell you how do you create a co-founder
I'll come to
fitment.
that. You were saying that there's an Excel sheet that can be drawn up in which
Yeah.
just go through it and check boxes, and you know who is your best fit when it comes to yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good idea. I think there is an Agentic AI
I was just going to say
platform
that. Why don't you make a plugin on that
yeah, that's a good
and
idea.
circulate it? Yes.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
Yeah, it could be used for matchmaking as well, and therein lies the business idea, not perhaps in finding the co-founder for a startup.
Matchmaking. So you're saying that Tinder can have an Agentic AI layer?
It doesn't already?
No, I don't think so. I think it's you just swipe right, swipe
Yeah, so
left, and
how is that matching happening? If
I think it's based on certain attributes you plug in.
Mhm.
So you want a male, you want a female, you want a bisexual, whatever.
It's just-
Whatever your preferences are.
I'm not on any dating app. I've never been on, so I don't even know how the product looks like. So
You have
it's
been
as-
married for way too long, I guess.
Right.
No?
That isn't such a bad thing. You make it sound like a curse. No, it isn't so bad. But let me come back to the question. The question is that if I give you a business idea, is it possible for
But
you?
let's stick to the Tinder incident. Do you think that AI can help in better matchmaking? Let me ask you.
Maybe for that I'll have to peruse a dating app for me to tell you.
Right. So human psychology,
You
a
of course
lot
know
of
the
research.
answer. You just asked
no,
me
I'm
for
just
effect.
no. I think human psychology and a lot of research around that,
Right.
and human beings, men, women, preferences, a lot of that can be
So
analyzed.
perhaps, see, I've not been on a dating app, but maybe what you're telling me, if there is a layer of agentic AI, perhaps it goes beyond the superficiality of just sexual orientation.
Yeah, and location and
Right.
age,
Correct. Or just the hobbies.
or just the hobbies.
Right.
So anyway, you have a lot of data, personal data, as in the
That-
dating
yeah,
app has a lot
exactly.
of personal data. Then there can be psychological fitments that can be mapped and research combined,
Yeah.
and perhaps that's an interesting business model to
Okay,
look
the other
at.
one that I was talking about, which is somebody gives you a business idea, and then with
I
that,
started just thinking how the dating app ecosystem evolved.
keep that for another business idea where you,
Tinder, Bumble, so many more, right? Isle, and so many died.
yeah,
I think
go on.
a lot of Me Too's came seeing Tinder, but perhaps the next big
By
dating
Me
app.
Too's, you mean similar things?
Yeah, everybody tried to create an Indian version of a Tinder, right? And they would also say that we are an Indian Tinder or things like that.
Did I just spark an entrepreneurial idea in you?
I'm not starting a dating app, but
If you do, you know that you will give me the royalty for it. The
Right.
idea was mine.
right, I think Bumble is millennials and feminism and control to women, plugged, or perhaps it's at the confluence of these three things, right?
Right.
Where women can decide whom to choose. I think Agentic is the next level. So
Perhaps.
yeah,
We were talking about your favorite failures. You told me about one, which is the co-founder.
co-founder misalignment.
Misalignment. So take me through it a little bit more. What you think was the biggest cause of the friction between you and your co-founder?
I think the intention was not wrong. First of all, let me start with that.
Intention as in?
The intention of both of us to build the
Something
company,
together.
something together, was always correct. So both of us wanted to solve a particular problem. Both of us were aligned that this was a problem that existed in the market. But then when the market shifted, new regulations, cookie policies were coming into the, people were getting more, Google was coming out with a new cookie policy, third-party cookie deprecation was starting to happen. The entire business model on which we existed, that would die. We knew that. either you completely pivot from that and start something new, which is what I thought was important, while my co-founder thought it was more important to figure out ways to stay with the core problem that we were solving. In both these cases, the intention was to create longevity, but somewhere our path started differing of longevity. And in that process,
So you essentially thought that he was perhaps holding on to an idea and not allowing it to evolve?
I think as founders, we should not get married to ideas. We should look at market, we should look at the problem, and if there is no way to solve that problem, then we should figure out new things to do. What is a startup? Startup is essentially you are trying to solve something that nobody has solved before, and it is not yet solved. While you're doing it, the odds to succeed is very less anyway. But if you try to solve a problem that cannot be solved, or because of various reasons, the path to solve that problem is becoming more difficult, then you have to look at a larger picture. So, larger picture was always to enable higher revenue for the media organizations, right? So, what else we could do to enable that revenue? So, that is the path that I chose.
What is the second failure that you think almost broke you?
Pivoting without validating the GTM, the go-to market strategy. Right. So, when you are pivoting, it's easier to pivot, but more difficult to figure out that after pivoting, which market will you sell your product in. We were operating in India. After pivoting, we continued to operate in India. The market that we were serving in India was not big enough. So, you hit ceiling very soon. Suddenly, your sales cycles start increasing way too long. When your sales cycles start increasing, your per month revenue growth starts getting impacted. You are also answerable to your investors, not just your clients. Why aren't you able to deliver a certain kind of value? If you are operating in a market where the serviceable market is not big enough, you cannot create that value. So
these are the problems where this is my experience of just writing about startups, which you would call superficial. But what I've seen is that each problem is very unique to that startup in its phase that it is in. So when you say that you're going to learn from failures, the learnings, how can the learnings be democratized? Because it might not be a problem that too many people face.
Let me stick to my second failure or mistake, whatever you want to call it. There is a process that I could have followed, which I know now, how to figure out GTM.
So that is the lesson you would.
So that is the lesson. So there is a definitive process to figure out go-to market. Which is my market? How big is that market? Who are my early customers? Whether the customers will pay a certain amount for a product or not. There is a definitive process to find out. One of the great books to read if you are starting entrepreneurship is Bill Ollitt's The Disciplined Entrepreneur. 24 steps to reach from 0 to 1. Right? Very definitive. There is a process to this madness. There is a process to navigate the chaos. While GTM for a Zepto
the tragedy was that nobody was there to guide you, to tell you that there is this process.
India is an immature startup market. It is not matured enough. It is maturing now.
Okay. So therefore, you're trying to create these frameworks, these playbooks, so to say, so that
now we have seen enough number of successes to be able to create those frameworks. We have seen a Flipkart getting acquired by a Walmart. We have seen listing of so many startups in India. 5 years ago, how many startups were listed? Hardly any, right?
Yeah.
So when
The first startup
all
listed in 2022. Zomato, Paytm was the first one.
Paytm was the first, or
2021, right?
right? I think Paytm was the one that got listed, or maybe somebody else. No.
We'll have to check. I think
Yeah.
Paytm was the first one, 2021. Post-COVID
Right.
amendments made by SEBI allowed it to list.
Right. So if you look at Amazon, when did Amazon get listed? Amazon got listed before the dot-com bubble burst, right?
Yeah.
We are 20, almost 20, more than 2 decades behind
yeah.
in our first listing,
yes,
right?
yes.
And now we are positioned well enough to create frameworks, playbooks for startup success. But the good part is India has also seen a lot of MSMEs becoming very large companies. We have seen generational businesses.
Right.
Every other country has, but India also has seen a lot of generational businesses. So there are a lot of learnings there as well, which can be utilized by the startup fraternity or the new generation entrepreneurs to create longevity.
That is where your legacy series comes in?
Yes, that is where our legacy series comes in, where we would like to talk to people like Uday Kotak, Anand Mahindra.
But where do you think can the lessons of legacy businesses help startups in India? Because we do not have a institutional sharing of experience that happens here, right?
Right. So let's, whose example should I take? Let's take the example of Airtel. Airtel, the way it has changed itself for the digital ecosystem, Airtel Black, the app, the marketplace of sorts, where a lot of services come into picture. So this is that value creation, and it is not just a telecom company. It is a lot more than a telecom company.
The pivots, you mean, came at the right time when you thought
expansions, the business expansion. So you start with one particular thing. You start with solving human to human connectivity, and calling was the main purpose. Messaging came, but then how do you take that problem of access and create multiple interventions to create multiple businesses?
Because the nature of communication was changing. People were not messaging anymore. So therefore, with that, Airtel also, I think, evolved very fast, and that's where lies the success of Sunil
you have to look at the new.
That's exactly where
consumerism
I
and
think a successful startup would also learn from, right? Because they might start with a certain problem. The nature of the problem and the consumer need also changes in a country like India.
For any country, right? No?
Perhaps, but here the mentality of consumers, where when we buy a car, kitna deti hai is most important. The value of your what you're spending is so important that if the nature of the demand is changing, you have to very swiftly adapt to it, and therein lies the success of a startup.
There is also a problem there. So what legacy businesses can teach you is that while you're trying to swiftly change, how do you not lose focus? So Airtel never lost focus of helping people to call one another and continue to improve that network while it continued to build new services. So a lot of times what you do not have the, and this is something that Sandeep Agarwal taught me, inch wide mile deep philosophy, that you take a certain problem, go really deep into it. Once you have solved that, pick up another problem, go really deep into that. So pick up another problem, go really deep into that, right? Startups a lot of times try to do so many things at the same time because there are shifts in the market and they want to grab every single opportunity that comes. And in that process, they do not grab anything and end up becoming a failure. So there is not a different business model for SaaS, for D2C, for e-commerce, for anything else. Business models primarily remain the same. But what you want to achieve is something else. So, for example, if you look at Amazon, whatever they want to do it with extreme customer centricity.
Hmm.
If you look at Facebook, they want to, their entire business model revolves around helping people connect.
Hmm.
If you look at Google, they are looking at how to make information easy, access to of information easier.
So the core focus does not
focus
change.
doesn't change.
Let's come to the third failure. Your favorite failure is the third one. I asked you top 3.
You should always validate the problem you are trying to solve. If you are not validating the problem, you are not distilling the product into a minimum viable product that you want to make, then you end up losing. I'll give you a more tangible example. When you create a very small product, you go to a customer, they will say that this product should also have X, Y, Z. You have gone with A and B. If they like it, let them take the A and B, and later on when a lot of people say that they also need X, Y and Z, you build X, Y and Z. Instead, what customers usually say is that I want X, Y and Z as well, and the founder starts building X, Y and Z. But always the focus should be, are you creating a minimum viable product good enough to be sold at scale? Once you have sold that MVP at scale, and the scale can be defined, the scale changes from industry, company to company, market to market. If you have understood the core problem, built the MVP, sold it at scale, and then you have 80% of customers saying that this is the next feature I want, then you create very high utility of that next feature. Otherwise, you will have a list of a lot of dead features, and you have spent a lot of resource in building that, time, energy, effort in thinking about that feature, and at the end of the day,
end up asking, why did you build
after
a lot
2
of
years
them?
you realize that nobody is using anything.
Are you glad you made these mistakes?
Yeah, if I think about it today, I wouldn't say I'm glad. I think
because you learned from it, lessons.
Just because I learned from it doesn't mean that I'm glad.
Tell me, I'm asking you.
I don't repent. Let me put it like that. I don't repent. Could I have done better? Yes. Has it taught me a lot of things? Yes.
Could you have done better in the 3 things that you spoke to me about?
Yeah.
Or overall, could you have done better? Was that a philosophical, existential?
I made 20 mistakes that I've listed.
Okay. Let's stick to just the 3.
If I would have not committed at least half of them,
yes,
then perhaps I would have delivered much higher shareholder value to my investors, much higher product value to my clients, much higher wealth value to my employees.
Okay. There was a wise man who once told me that no entrepreneur likes to learn from mistakes. They have to always make their own mistakes.
I don't know who this wise man is, but I think
you.
Me? No, I never. Did I say this?
Yeah. I was trying to tell you that you're making a mistake. You said, maybe it's a mistake, but let me make mine. And that is where the second act makes its debut.
That's where second act tries to figure out frameworks. How do you not? That's where you do not make those mistakes.
But why now? See, I'm asking you this question because I remember when I joined Outlook Business, we were thinking of...
I think the times are too sexy not to do it right now. People always keep on saying that, it is never the best time. It has never been a better time to start up.
You could have started up doing a lot of things, but why the second act now was my question, because I know your obsession with mistakes is one of your longer running obsessions.
I think podcast is becoming sexy.
Okay, right.
A lot more people are listening to podcast, viewing podcast. Podcast is coming of age.
So when you speak to startups, I have lay of the land now because you spoke.
That was a joke, by the way.
Okay. Okay, fine.
I think the real reason is that because of artificial intelligence,
But what did you say? What was the joke? I'm so sorry. I was thinking about
that
my
podcast
next.
is becoming sexy.
Isn't it?
You think
See,
so?
today I met 3 people, and all 3 of them are C-suite in India's top 10 listed companies. All of them spoke to me and waxed eloquent about the sexiness of podcasts. I'm guessing it is sexy.
In fact, I met a automobile company's chief marketing officer yesterday, and that person told me that 60 to 70% of their spending
Yeah.
is on YouTubers.
Wow. And I know why you went to him, because you wanted.
No. It's just met an old friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Coming back, the question I was asking you.
I don't think an automobile company would sponsor my podcast. Is there a direct fitment? No, perhaps not. I don't know an automobile company trying to build entrepreneurship. Do they?
Well, so they might align with you because you're going to be talking to India's next billionaires. You're going to talk about the next billionaires and talking to the current billionaires. So yeah, their next car could be one of the premium products coming out of the automobile company's garage. I don't know.
I also don't think that if that is the case, then automobile companies would make a lot more revenue by putting ads in financial newspapers. But I don't think so. They sell cars by putting ads on financial newspapers. No?
Okay.
Would you agree?
Separate conversation for a separate day.
Do you think journalism is getting threatened because of influencers?
I would say journalism in India is threatened by everything and everybody, including my mother, who stopped buying a newspaper, stopped watching.
She's a professor? She was a professor? She retired as one, right?
Sorry?
She retired as a professor?
She retired as a professor. So anybody and everybody is a threat to journalism in India.
As in, can you?
So my mother, if she stopped subscribing to many, she used to get 7 newspapers at home. Now we get only 2. Threat. I work in a television channel. She doesn't watch it for news. Threat.
Is it because?
No, let me complete.
Okay.
So that's one part. Others say important voices. They don't want to talk to journalists anymore. Threat. There are too many revenue streams which others outside media have figured, and we've not managed to grab that money back to media. Threat. Sponsors every day, even the legacy sponsors with media houses are figuring that the ROI from legacy media is going down. Threat.
Is it? So would you crystallize this in saying that media is losing its relevance?
I hope not.
I also hope not. I think we should also have a conversation with a news media owner, new age and legacy, to understand how they would navigate the problem of relevance.
Yes. You know, Sunny, a lot of people I meet these days tell me that this is the best time to start up in India. But this is a sector that I have known, covered very closely for the past almost now 10 years. And without any institutional support, I'm not too sure how correct that is. Look at data. Look at the number and the rising number of startups that register every year. But the number of startups shutting down is also increasing exponentially.
I think I was just doing some data crunching and I realized that from 2020 to now, more than 40,000 startups have failed. Which means 40,000.
In 5 years, 40,000 have failed.
5 years, 40,000. Averaging, every startup would have two co-founders. So failure of 80,000 entrepreneurs.
Yeah, but you're being very conservative in your number. I remember taking this data out of Traction, if I'm not mistaken, and I think I didn't have the absolute number at that time but for 2020, maybe it was an edge case because pandemic would have been the reason for it, the trigger for it. Year ending 2022, 75% startups had failed.
Yeah, the total number is 90%. Startups fail. So only 1 out of 10 startups succeed. But if you just look at the numbers from 2020 and to 2025, 40,000 startups failed. And if you just do an extrapolation, 40,000 startups, at least 80,000 entrepreneurs, 5 to 7 people per startup, 8 sevens are 42, about 5 lakh people could have been employed who had to go outside and find other jobs, right? Put together the impact on households, families, etc. There is a huge negative
Chances
impact.
are the ones who fail would not go back to being jobbers anymore. Enough psychological surveys show that they would stick it out. They would start up again.
I don't have
Either
data.
way-
I don't have
either
data
way,
for that.
Again, I said these were all surveys. Either way, yeah, I understand the case that you're trying to make, which is that they show so many startups shouldn't be allowed to fail.
Shouldn't. AI will also start a lot of new entrepreneurs. A lot of new entrepreneurs will enter the AI space. More jobs will be created, but net we should not have a lot of companies failing, because if we can reduce the number of failures, then net we'll be able to create more jobs. So over a period of 5 years, using a whole bunch of interventions, if the second act can reduce the 90% failure rate to say 80%, that is a huge.
That's a massive impact.
I personally feel that as a founder, as an entrepreneur, I could have done a lot better with structured framework available at a single place. If that was there, perhaps many founders who had to shut down would not have shut down shops.
Right. Another thing that I would like to talk to you about, because I have written extensively about it, and it's a thing that interests
You
me.
did a cover on mistakes, but that was one of your first covers.
It was my first cover. It was your idea.
I
just executed it.
I wouldn't say that it was my idea entirely, but yeah, we did discuss about that, and I remember Ritesh Agarwal.
Yes, Sandeep Agarwal, the book.
Sandeep was there.
Sandeep was there, yeah. Fascinating stories we had. We had Ashneer Grover.
Yeah, what's happened to him now?
So, what is that? Okay, if you were to observe the firmament of.
Do you think he's a failure?
I was going to ask you the question. I think he's a massive failure for an entrepreneur.
Do you think he has reinvented himself as an influencer?
Exactly. So that's what I was coming to. An entrepreneur who ceases to be an entrepreneur and then has to reinvent himself as an influencer means that he's not building a product. You cannot yourself become a product. It means that you have let gone of your creativity. I think at the core of an entrepreneur is a very, very creative mind. And Ashneer Grover, I remember interviewing him over a course of 3 days for that cover story. I've also interacted with him multiple times before, he started unraveling himself and the company.
Right.
His core propositioning was extremely strong, Bharat Pay, remember?
The
core proposition was very strong for India at that time.
Yeah.
So for him to have moved so far away from entrepreneurship is, I think, also should be treated as a personal tragedy for him as well. I know of a large VC fund. It's a global fund.
Sequoia?
The largest one. No, another one. Okay. They have.
Whenever somebody talks a large VC fund, somehow the first name that comes to my mind is Sequoia. I really do not know why.
Maybe because I did another cover on Sequoia.
No.
We'll not talk about that.
I think.
Yeah. No. Let me say what I was saying, which is this is one of the largest VC funds globally. They actually have a dedicated team in India only to manage their founders, the founders of their investee companies, so that they don't unravel themselves in a streak of madness. And
really?
Yeah. They have
just a dedicated team to manage founders.
Yes.
How would that function?
How would that
So
function?
if there are
What
say
I can tell
three
you the
things,
outcome. I can tell
three
you the
things that
outcome.
team would do.
Right.
So what would the three things?
Let me tell you the outcome. Once this team was set up a couple of years back, they had first identified the volatile ones, the volatile founders who,
Volatile founders.
yeah,
Okay.
emotionally volatile. An Ashneil Grover case in point. The person unraveled himself and therefore could not remain within his company. To have been ousted by your own board would be a great tragedy, right? So they've identified these founders. They work with them very closely. 3 of those companies have now listed. How does it work? They ensure that they have teams attached to their identified founders, the trigger happy founders, and they're not allowed to react to everything that is happening to them.
I think founders also become eccentric in nature. I've seen sides of.
I believe that if you're so, our times are changing. You're living a large part of your life in the public eye because of social media, but a truly creative person will also be eccentric. How else do you nurture creativity which at times is ahead of times you are living in? That requires you to be
self-deprecating also at times it becomes,
so
right?
this is what the team does so that it's not self-deprecating, it's not self-harm, and it is to seize the founder from being, it is to desist the founder from being trigger happy.
But are these people, are they like CEO coaches or something like that? Or founder coaches?
They're actually former journalists.
How come a journalist can?
Very nice. Let's move to the next question. So, of the many things that we are talking about, mistakes, failures, etc., you have made it your life's work to study business models, products, etc., while I have studied human behavior for a very long time. And I think that a key reason why a lot of startups fail is also because founder mindset.
Yeah.
Because they do not treat their startup as they ought to treat. A lot of these people that I talk to, youngsters, they treat startups as a vehicle to a scheme of get rich easy.
In fact, not even a week ago, I was at Perch, which is a coffee shop in Greater Kailash 2 M Block Market. And I was having coffee with my wife, and 2 tech entrepreneurs took the table beside my table, and they were generally talking about entrepreneurship. And suddenly this guy, he said that I have started my entrepreneurial journey to become rich fast. I can bet that the startup he is heading will fail, because the purpose of him to start something is wealth creation
And not value creation.
and not value creation.
But how could you judge from a conversation? Just as, I mean, from
the
one
focus is
statement.
completely else. So you
Okay.
have to be deeply focused on solving a particular problem. The wealth is always a byproduct. And I'll give you both Indian and global examples. General Motors tried to build a electric car. Toyota put a hybrid engine into it, but it really took an Elon Musk to change the EV landscape globally. If you look at what McKinsey or Bain or any other,
You didn't have to go abroad. I think a closer home.
there are many case studies closer home. I'm saying that every startup that has tried to create impact has gone against skeptics.
Right.
All traditional businesses, management consultancy firms, whether it's a McKinsey or a Bain or anybody else, at that time when Tesla was being built, would have said that EV cannot penetrate the way it has. But if you look at California today, 25% of the passenger vehicle market is EVs. It took Elon Musk to go near bankruptcy at least twice before Tesla became big enough.
So one-eyed focus on value creation.
One-eyed
But was
focus
it
on value creation
and your belief?
despite what skeptics say. So belief, value creation, both of them have to be so strong that you are
Is that value creation, or is that dogged belief and dogged perseverance, thinking that it's your idea which is the correct idea, the path that you've taken is the correct path for not only yourself or the company, and in Elon Musk's case, also the world?
It has to be a bit of both, right? If you do not believe in your idea.
But at that time, the market wasn't validating his idea either.
Right.
So Elon Musk would be an edge case, really?
No.
No? Okay, go on.
If you. So let's stay with that Elon Musk example for a while. Why couldn't very large companies not create a electric vehicle like Tesla could? The reason is everybody was trying to sell ICE, which is internal combustion engines, and the EV business was a side hustle kind of thing for them. No, but it's like, let's also try to do this.
You're talking solely on Tesla, then nobody was able to create it before Tesla because A, you're talking about large conglomerates who lacked his agility, Elon Musk's agility. A. B, the thing is,
you don't have to be agile. You have to
have so much resources focused into just one thing.
What is agility in this? It is deep persuasion towards full.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So large companies would not have the agility to even segregate to put aside resources to do this because there was no market validation, and also
so real innovation never comes out of market validation.
Right, go on.
Right. So real innovation, a Tesla would not have happened if Elon had to listen to skeptics. Let's come closer home. Ola. The way Bhavish Agarwal moved from being an Uber competitor to getting into automobile manufacturing, EV, two-wheelers, AI. You look at, if he didn't have very strong belief in understanding of the ecosystem, then again,
Bhavish Agarwal, perhaps, allow me maybe a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Because
you did a story on Bhavish recently. About a year ago, no?
Yeah, exactly a year back. So I perhaps would be one
of the very few journalists Bhavish spoke with.
Yeah, at that time, yes. Yeah. And he hasn't spoken since. But there were a few
factors. How did you convince him?
Dogged persuasion.
Yeah, it works.
The time when the Indian government was also betting very big on EVs, also manufacturing. So he found the intersection, manufacturing and EV, and he jumped at it. Something, you're right, the legacy guys couldn't, because there I think agility is a problem. They never thought that you could, put away so much of your resources on one thing, bet on it, and
that's the difference between an entrepreneur and an employee CEO.
Absolutely. Even for a Malik, you're going to do your legacy series. Some of them have survived the test of time because they've managed to evolve. But it's taken them serious competition from mavericks like Bhavish to perhaps also stay in the game. Right?
Yes. But you also see for a Bhavish, there is also an Anand Mahindra who has completely reinvented the wheel, while he has an ICE category which sells so well, he also has the pure EV category, and you see the design innovation that person has done.
So come back to your question, to my question about founder mindset.
Yeah,
a lot of failures and mistakes are made there, in that mind. Can you have a playbook for that?
Founder mindset as a playbook?
No, a playbook to help founders be more disciplined.
If they become too disciplined, they become too slow.
Okay.
If you have to create categories which do not exist, you have to move fast, also fail fast, you should be able to navigate and move on.
Agility is of essence.
Are we confusing between agility, flexibility and speed?
Could be. All three virtues of a startup, you'd say?
I don't know. I think agility is a bastardized word in the startup ecosystem.
Okay.
Bhavish's ability to make the automobile business a success was not purely agility, but it was speed to execution, very deep focus, data driven insight, understanding of market, understanding of consumers, all put together to execute in a particular direction.
An understanding of where
The
the
market-
schemes are, the subsidies are,
Yeah,
all of that.
I think
That's
even
also
beyond
very-
that he would have
See,
done it.
No, but in India that also is a big function.
We forget the name in when it comes to innovation, which is Flipkart.
Right.
I first spoke to Sachin and Binny when Flipkart
Was selling books.
only sold books.
Right.
That was the first time. It was way back in 2008. They were young, but the amount of conviction they had and the amount of validation of ecosystem, consumer, the way the market will move was not just because they had seen an Amazon before, but because they understood the market so well. Why do you think another retail company could never create the e-commerce ecosystem? Why do you think? Because again, everybody who has established themselves have become bigger, always hire the McKinseys and the Bains and the PwCs of the world to do market research, and they are all skeptics, and perhaps they play it safe, right? They do not want to go wrong.
True.
They also do not. What if they predict something and it doesn't play out?
Or what if they predict something that they're not equipped to handle themselves? They are then cannibalizing their own business.
Correct. So they do not want to have more losses than wins, right?
They don't want to have more innovation.
Right. And if Sachin and Binny listened to market skeptics,
when you were interviewing them, they were already trying to scale from just books. When you
mobile accessories was the category they were talking about.
Yes.
That was the second category.
Yeah,
not
so
mobile phones, mobile accessories. Low cost business. At that time, they were not a marketplace. They were a retailer. So they would buy and sell.
Right. And then they graduated into, I think, striking a deal with one mobile company which would only first debut on Flipkart, right?
Yeah. So there were exclusive debuts that were happening on marketplaces. By then, the world had moved to marketplaces. But
were there people, skeptics that were around them?
Yeah, a lot of them. So everybody used to say, so talk to a consultant or a market expert or an analyst. Everybody would say people would not buy if they do not see, touch, feel a product.
Right.
So if Flipkart wouldn't have happened, COD, cash on delivery, was invented by Flipkart. It was not I call it an innovation. People call it an innovation. I call it an invention. Imagine the amount of money that a company handles just because trust was a problem, and they solved for trust with cash on delivery. Nowhere in the world that had happened. And do it at that scale. It requires a founder mindset, right? I think, and apart from founders, why doesn't this happen in enterprise companies? Is because enterprise companies have a lot of distraction. What happens to my share price? What will happen to my existing business? The founder has nothing to lose. He's only focusing on one thing. He wants to build one thing, solve one problem.
So what is the biggest impediment to innovation in India? Is it the naysayers or is it the investors?
Impediment to innovation.
See, Sunny, when you were starting up.
No, I get your question. I was trying to frame my thoughts whether should I start with investors or should I start with founders. I think it's both. I think we have always looked at validation in in America. Later
That's
on, we
because
started
your
looking at
investors will not
validation.
give you money if there isn't if it isn't a prototype of something that already exists. Is there real money for the truly innovative idea in India? In India,
Paytm is an excellent example of truly innovative idea. Uh, but maybe PayPal wallet led to the Paytm thinking, WeChat led to the Paytm thinking, but I largely see that as an Indian
you
innovation.
think investors would have put their money behind Paytm if there were no PayPal?
No PayPal, no WeChat.
You have your doubts.
Whenever whenever a founder goes to raise capital, one thing that they are asked, at least in the first couple of rounds, is do we have a US proxy?
Right. Or maybe do we have a success story of the same thing somewhere else?
Yeah, US proxy which is successful.
Yeah, yeah.
So Flipkart, successful proxy, Amazon, Ola, Uber, Oyo, Airbnb,
So on and so forth.
so on and so forth, right?
Right.
But that's also because the amount of capital Indian VCs have is much less, and international VCs can continue to give money in innovation. Now, let's take WhatsApp for an example, which got sold at $19 billion when it made zero revenue. Do you think a phenomenon like that would happen in India?
No.
So validation for Indians are very important, especially the VC and founder ecosystem.
Why? The culture issue or pressure from their LPs?
I don't think it's the pressure from LPs kind
Culture
of issue.
issue?
It's just that we do not have enough founder turned VCs.
Right. We have suits as VCs.
Yeah.
Suits as investors. Right?
Yeah, that is why if you see some of the best VCs who have backed innovative companies who are not Me Too's is people like Kunal Behl who runs Triton Capital today, right? So you cannot be just an MBA graduate, worked in a company for 4 years, run a VC firm deciding the future of entrepreneurs in this country. That's an impossible way to develop entrepreneurship in a country. I think it has to be more than that.
The unfairness doesn't end in just a broad statement like them deciding the future of entrepreneurship in India. I think your statement could be broken down into the impact it has on extremely young entrepreneurs in India who are perhaps taking it out in the world of startups and what it does to their grit, their mental health.
Maybe, but I'm not a great believer of this mental health problem. I think it's self-inflicted. I think that everybody can keep their calm, manage things. There is this huge pretense of working too much, and I think there is a way to navigate that.
I'm not talking about personal instances of mental health, but the fact that more often than not investors run founders up the wall has enough evidence. I mean, I don't need to quote data to you on that.
There are many companies who have been
pulled
down by
because of the way investors have dealt with that company. And in most cases than not, they are actually unfair to that company because they don't understand the startup very well. They don't understand the idea or the market very well.
Yeah, just because you've invested in 5 startups doesn't make you an expert in the startup, in running that startup or building that startup. Anybody who is doing due diligence in an early stage company are investment analysts who have 1 or couple of years of career in the fresh out of college, a couple of years in the VC industry. they have zero expertise of analyzing how a business might pan out. So again, they will be start looking at global. So you look at the research that they do. Are there any global proxies? How big is the market globally? Everybody is running after an artificial TAM.
And then they ask you for projections.
And they will ask for a 5-year projection. Those 5-year projections, a founder will never meet.
Yeah.
A founder never
Forget meeting. There'll be shams of the first order. How will you predict 5 years in advance on so
Yeah.
many with so many moving parts? It's absolutely notional, right?
Yeah, completely
And then
notional.
for you
So
to be held to it.
I don't think so. They kind of pin the person down with them. Why didn't you meet the?
They don't.
No, I don't think so. Because they also know that the founders will. It's somewhere. I think a VC series of how not to fail as a VC is an important thing that.
It's a very important conversation to have.
Yeah. I seriously think there is a lot of problem in that space. How
What are
VCs,
those?
how you analyze a company, why would you invest in a company, what is the long-term value proposition. I always go back to these global examples.
No, what is broken in that system? The one that exists in India.
All three that I mentioned.
Elucidate?
VCs are, apart from founder turned venture capitalists, most of them do not have a framework or a playbook to help their portfolio companies succeed. In that process, they create more chaos in the founders' lives because they would have come from large organizations. They would try to implement that framework, and most companies that die in the first 2 years of the journey, which is called the valley of death.
Right.
Companies, very few companies die after they have become a 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, 400 million dollar company, right? So the largest number of death happens in that first 2 years. Those first 2 years, you cannot analyze that company with a corporate lens.
So, would you have sections in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
podcast?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more.
So
about
we are not doing a linear series. We are looking at, as a unicorn series is one of them. We are doing only 6 unicorns, where we are trying to figure out how you do not fail to build a $1 billion company. Then there is a series called Resilience series, where we try to figure out how do you not fail to build extremely resilient companies which have got very good fundamentals, unit economics, longevity built into the culture, the business model, everything, right? The other series that we are doing is Legacy series, where we are trying to have conversations with the top entrepreneurs / owners of legacy businesses to figure out how you do, because today's startups are tomorrow's enterprises, right? How do you do not fail to?
If they watch the second act.
Yeah. So essentially
No, today's startups are tomorrow's enterprises.
Tomorrow's enterprises, and how do you do not fail to build those enterprises? VC series, as I said, is all about having conversations with founder turned VCs to figure out how you do not fail to become a successful good VC. Comeback series is about how you failed once, you came back, and you did not make those same mistakes in the second company or the second venture you started. We are also thinking of a few others like PMF series. How you do not fail to achieve product market fit. There is a next generation series as to how do you keep relevance in this changing digital era, in the changing AI era, and so on and so forth. So the way we are looking at it is it has to be broad enough from topics standpoint, but deep enough so that we are able to create those frameworks.
Which are some of these marquee conversations that you are running after? That you would
would
love to have on your platform?
I've had many such conversations. Sheryl Sandberg, Mr. Narayana Murthy, Shiv Nadar, Pawan Munjal, Steve Ballmer when he was the CEO of Microsoft, Sergey Brin when I was still with Google. One more conversation which I've always remembered was with Mr. Jeff Bezos. So I had asked him, are there any management thinkers that he follows and he really admires?
Yeah.
One of his answers was, I didn't think that he would say that. He said Walt Disney.
Right.
Because Walt Disney took symbolic and very bold bets. At that time, you remember this movie that they made was Snow White.
The first film was Snow White.
And everything was short form at that point of time, and Snow White was the first feature animated movie.
Which was entirely had to be hand drawn because it was analog at that time.
If Mr. Walt Disney would have gone with what skeptics say, the world of animation would have never changed.
You know, his father threw him out of the house?
Yeah, because of that?
No.
Okay.
That is because he always thought that he always put an onus on creativity and thought that creativity is what will help a business. His father was a businessman who believed that only profits can help a business. He got thrown out of house very young. Yeah.
If you only think about profit, I think it stifles creativity, innovation. Bezos went ahead and told me that it's helpful to pick a mission bigger than the company. Another person that he said that he admires was Akio Morita, founder of Sony, where he said that Sony would start focusing on quality rather than anything else. And you see that how the company changed over time. I think you and I had this huge conversation when I said that you can buy a television which is not Sony, but you said that I do not think any other television company makes TVs better than Sony.
You know, I didn't think of it this way actually. But subconsciously, whether it's gadgets, whether it's cars, especially these two things, I have always thought that anything coming out of Japan, I could trust it with eyes closed.
I think Koreans also make good products, don't you think so?
No, I trust Japanese.
You don't trust
Hyundai? They survived 2 atom bombs. What else can be a bigger validation?
Sure. But I also believe that Mr. Morita's focus on quality would have come out of a failure either at a company level or at a individual level. I wish that was documented well enough to be created into a framework which people could learn from.
Of course.
I hope that we will be able to create a lot of this immortal learning which for generations will be useful.
Yeah, that's the perfect wrap-up line that I had also prepared for this, that hopefully you will create playbooks, frameworks which will stand the test of time.
Right.
It's a pleasure speaking to you.
Lovely speaking to you too. Should we wrap it up or?
Yes, of course, we're done.
Okay, got long
conversation.
Yeah.
I think we covered everything, right?
Did we?